and welcome to yet another Emissaries episode of Philadelphia by Night. We are quickly reaching the end of the Hungry Times with our in character date being June 20th. Since there have been several changes both in management of certain buildings and management of certain casinos, as well as certain aspects going interestingly in a couple of different Seneschal's board missions, as well as in some personal ones. Lord Bridgerton thought that it would be a good idea to get the emissaries coterie together once more, minus the doctor, who had a slight emergency, what with one of her dozen and a half patients going into preterm labor, to kind of just make sure everybody had all of the information that they needed to continue on their happy, merry way. So, Senor Sharky, you woke up this evening and did what?
Well, I woke up mighty hungry. Not really mighty hungry, but hungry enough. So I went out a hunting.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, indeed.
With your usual hunting style?
That is correct. I decided to extort some folks. Maybe tell them, I can wipe away some of their debt and then wipe in their memories so they forget the whole experience. All that stuff.
Just, the perfect, awesome stuff.
The perfect, awesome stuff.
The same way we always do our business when you are Sharky and have almost as much money as the Catholic Church.
Almost, not quite,
And at least as much money as the Mormon Church.
I'd say a little more than the Mormon Church. Soon to be a lot more than the Mormon Church.
Just under what the Catholic Church possesses.
Correct.
Beans. So the boss, who has honestly not been doing a whole lot of boss stuff, requested this here meeting. How are you feeling about that?
Well, this time Sharky's not really done anything wrong, unlike the last time he had a meeting requested. So Sharky's kind
True.
of feeling okay.
Okay. This is just kind of a check in.
It's just a check-in. Usually though when people like Lord Bridgerton call a check-in, it's usually because of somebody somebody done fucked up.
Okay. That doesn't really seem to be the case this time, though.
No, it doesn't. But he doesn't know what the other two have gotten up to.
So, you're feeling pretty confident?
Feeling pretty confident. He did or Sharky managed to help take down a dinosaur, which was nice. A Metasaurus. So, things could be going a lot worse.
Things could be going a lot worse. Okay. So, everyone's favorite, whatever clan it is you are, Mr. Vanguard.
Nobody knows, apparently. He is a little peckish, so he's gonna tap his herd.
Probably wise. Probably wise.
He then is going to go about his night. Nothing too serious.
Okay. And how is Mr. Vanguard feeling about this call to order?
He's interested to see what everyone else has been up to because it seems like everything that everyone's been running around doing involves fighting uh, different things. So he's excited to relay the information of what he offered to the court effectively the other night.
Ooh. Is good, is good. So you pull up in the place that, well, you pull up in not Eastern State Penitentiary, which in itself is a little strange. Though it seems perhaps this particular meeting space has been upgraded slightly. You would recognize it. It's not terribly far from Elysium, and it's another one of the art museums in the area, the Rodin Art Museum.
This is certainly interesting, Sharky.
Another evening, Mr. Vanguard.
Well, shall we?
Let us shall. Holds out a hand, almost as if to lead his compatriot in.
Ashton narrows his eyes and walks forward.
Oh well. Your loss. Walks up the steps.
Ashton's up the steps.
Okay, it's a museum at nightfall. There's not a whole lot of activity going on besides janitors.
Hmm.
Good stuff.
Yep. But you go in, you follow the text message directions, and you would find Lord Bridgerton sitting at a table.
Not our usual meeting spot, Lord Bridgerton. Is it secured?
Yes. And we are having guests this evening.
Ooh. Interesting.
Indeed. I imagine your new hires can be called upon.
I would assume.
I have at least one on payroll, so yes.
The doctor is clearly occupied, and it would make sense that his new hires are as well.
Does
But
make
though we are not members of the tower, we are operating in a tower city. And that means certain niceties are expected to be observed.
Hmm.
His Grace and the Seneschal will be gracing us with their presence at some point tonight.
Hmm. I understand introductions need to be made.
I trust you can be on your best behavior.
When am I not, Lord Bridgerton? When am I not?
When
You
you're
see,
pretending to be a Tremere.
I don't think I've ever pretended to be a Tremere. Have you, Mr. Vanguard?
Yeah, there was that one time back in Italy, I suppose. But we don't talk about Italy. Didn't end well.
Lovely country.
Oh, it absolutely is, till you accidentally run into someone who claimed to have never seen you before, and they should have seen you if you were a Tremere, if you catch my drift.
Ah, I can't say I've ever had that problem.
Well, it's kind of hard for you to pretend to be a different clan.
Yes. So, there have been inroads made with the court and individuals in the city.
I had an official kindred only opening of my nightclub, Lord Bridgerton, and it seemed to go pretty well. The Harpy was there, one of the presumably older members of the city. The Toreador Primogen and her cousin. What was his name? He's a pretty handsome fellow. It'll come to me. But I think I'll be hosting a venue for some of the other members of the city to have a little bit of verbal sparring, as it were.
Ah, social combat, a important skill to learn.
Indeed.
And you, Mr. Knox.
Well, I've been doing quite a few things. On one front, I have been actively involving myself in the less savory members of society. I've gotten involved with I've gotten involved with one of the groups in the criminal underground known best as the Bruno Scarfo crime family.
Ah, so you are involved with the mob.
Indeed, I'm helping them do some money laundering. Uh, that's taking effect. It's going to increase my wealth considerably, but I have the acumen and abilities and influence to make certain that shouldn't come back to bite me, if you catch my drift.
Yes, it might do you good to look into their history in the city a bit, just to armor plate your own rear end.
Hmm. Did they have ties to the past
They
administration?
they do and did have ties to the previous regime, though with all of the previous regime's members dead or scattered. It seems you have found a very convenient niche to slip into.
Then that means they need new management.
I
And
would take care that most of their previous contacts were Giovanni.
hmm, I will make certain not to I'll make certain to be extra careful. But the Giovanni are like the Ventru, you know, except worse at what they do. So I'll be I'll make certain to be as careful as I can, but I think I can take on a few Giovanni, especially if they're the last remnants of the old regime. I'd love to show them the ropes, if you know what I'm saying.
I'll assume that was literal.
You make good assumptions, Lord Bridgerton.
And missions, you've gone on at least a couple with the city.
Oh yes, well the first one we found out some interesting news about the underground. I believe I sent you in a report, Lord Bridgerton. Uh, the underground has been infested by looks like blood-fed plants, seemingly by Sifra, the what was it, the primogen of the voiceless? I think it was.
Emissary to the clanless.
Same difference. Camarilla politics, emissaries, primogen, same. No matter. Uh, well, we found out that she was maybe blood fed some plants, but she didn't seem to be focusing too much on it. It seemed to be sort of an almost mistaken thing. That seemed to be the where most of the plants seem to be coming from. Um, we have other blood-fed plants. In fact, he sets down a bag that he had cut from the expedition. Um, this came from my other mission I've been on.
Hmm.
This was from when I took on a giant dinosaur made out of faces.
A, a
I
giant dinosaur made out of faces?
Uh huh. I believe you me. I also was making the same thing you're thinking now of how crazy that is. He must be insane. He must have gone. He must be a lunatic. That's what I thought when I heard there was a monster in the sewers. I thought it was gonna be a gator. I thought it was gonna be. I had heard the term dinosaur thrown around. I didn't think it was actually a dinosaur.
Uh, and you're certain?
I'm certain that it was a giant dinosaur.
Yes.
I, among others, fought the thing. I am certain I saw a giant dinosaur.
It it wasn't a trick of these hallucinogen flowers.
Oh, it was a trick, all right. It was a Zemitzi trick. I wasn't the only one who saw it. Rowan saw it.
The prince's childer.
Yes. Now, I get he's a little crazy too, but not as crazy as I am. So you should take in mind that he saw it. As well as two of the fledglings, both, I think they were both Ventru, actually. Two of the fledglings, that look Maori guy lost an arm. He tried to eat my childer.
Your employee.
My employee who I have adopted, and then he tried to eat he and then there was what was his name? What was his name? The shadowy fella. Not the ninja fairy man, not the look, the
A La Sombra.
yeah, that. I knew he was a Lasombra, but I can't remember the name of the Lasombra that was there with us. Okay?
Right. An age, perhaps? There are a few running around this city.
I believe he was He and Look seem to know each other really well, so I believe he was an Ancilla?
That one is probably. Uh, Dante?
Miss yes, Mr. Duval.
Yes. And how did they strike you?
How did they strike me? Um
You are the most physically inclined of us, I believe. At least from a combat standpoint.
mm, Mr. Mallory's dangerous. More dangerous than I am, certainly. Mr. Duval, I'm not going to say he's not dangerous, don't hear me say. He's definitely dangerous, but I think in a fight most I think in a fight, a one-on-one fight, I think I could take him if I really needed to, but it would be close. Mr. Mallory, if not for the fact that he was basically almost unconscious already from all the damage he took from that giant dinosaur that tried to eat him, I don't think I would have been able to. I don't think we would have been able to beat him. I think he could have taken on all of us who were there. The other two, the two Childer, the two Ventru kids,
They let fledglings fight a dinosaur.
to be fair, I don't think anyone knew it was a dinosaur. Not in the way that they told them it was a dinosaur.
Ah,
Anyway, I own now 12 barrels of oil if we need it, and I can use it to set fire to someplace if we also need to do that.
well, I suppose it's always good to have a plan.
Good for body disposal.
Right. And what are your plans moving forward?
My main plan moving forward is to attempt to gain control over the shipping industry here in Philadelphia. Maybe not completely seize control of it. It's a large industry. I can't expect to gain that much influence in such a short time, but at least gain a significant enough foothold that I can begin operating smuggling operations and make certain that I can get the city what it needs. And when you get what it needs, people pay you what you deserve. Should bring in a tidy profit for myself and therefore the system.
I might suggest looking into contacts in the dock workers union.
Hmm.
Aim low enough, and there is quite a lot of control one can exert without potentially stepping on toes.
That is a part of the plan. I'm hoping that through my criminal connections and through some more of my loan operations, I can put pressure on some of them to listen to me in the union. You know, you hit them one way through the criminal sphere or you hit them the other way through their pocketbook. Either way, they'll start listening to you.
Yes, that's accurate. And your plans, Mr. Vanguard?
Well, I think the best thing that I could do, being the type of person that I am, would be to see where this whole um, social combat session goes. I find that gaining that information might be quite. Any information gleaned from that might be quite helpful.
There are few that are more trusted than teachers and educators.
Exactly.
Hmm. I suppose you are both willing to call your employees.
I don't. I don't think Ashton sort of employed any of the Thin Bloods. I don't think there was a social Thin Blood.
There wasn't a social one, but there was a financial one.
Oh, yeah, then he'll call him up. Tell him to come over to the museum.
Yeah, I need you here. No, no, there's not going to be any scary shadow. Well, I can't actually guarantee that. There's not unlikely to be any scary shadow men. Uh, don't worry. Yes, I will punch them. You don't have to punch them again. Yes, you can take the nice car.
Right. And neither of you have met the seneschal, have you?
I don't
Uh,
think so.
on 2 occasions, actually.
Uh, Freakishly tall, no eyes, armor.
Almost fungal, but also almost bug-like at the same time. Speaks strictly in Latin.
Yes, that would be them.
Real quick, I probably should also say it seems that there's trouble within the Toreador clan.
Oh,
Seems they have a wayward childer running around that left the city. Might be worth something looking into.
I imagine assisting with that, however possible, might be a way to endear oneself to at least one clan.
Well, why not start with the clan that everyone mistakes me for? He smiles at Lord Bridgerton. Who knows, that might come in handy.
If you need any financial resources, I'd be more than willing to help you out with that.
Appreciate it, Sharky. Also, for the love of sweet God, they have one of the most immaculate harpies I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Little concerning, but she's effective.
Do you mean. And he starts flipping through pages of a notebook. Ms. Dillard?
Correct.
And you think that Ms. Dillard is a Toreador?
No, but I was just making a point that maybe tread very carefully with what you say, because there were a lot of things she knew, and I'm 99% sure they weren't said directly to her. But she knows a lot. So maybe keep certain conversations to a minimum. And he is not talking to Lord Bridgerton, he's actually looking at Sharky. With no malicious intent behind what he's saying, but because Sharky is doing the board missions just as a air of caution.
I will keep any secrets to myself. However, I do believe that from what I've seen so far, it seems like secrets do not stay secret very long in the city. So,
That is correct. I learned something about you I didn't know.
and what would that be?
Your prior affiliations. It's looking at his nails.
Two?
Before this particular group we're a part of?
Ah, so they've already figured out that I am.
Correct.
Hmm. I'm surprised. I ain't been secret about my origins as a.
Tread lightly, dear friend, as I have found some won't let the past lie, as it were.
There are many faithful individuals who fled our old affiliations after being caught in a mass embrace. Simply what I'll tell them if they wish
Indeed.
to know.
And it wouldn't even be a lie, would it?
Not at all. The old ways no longer are active or no longer are effective. They never were. That's what I always believed. One of the reasons why me and Michelle don't get along all the time.
Well, I just wanted to make you aware of that, considering we're in a very blended city. And like I said, some people won't let the past lie. And you can take that however you'd like. I'm just the messenger.
Thank you. Your concern means a lot, Mr. Vanguard.
Well, that was all I had.
Hmm.
Indeed. Well, the Seneschal and His Grace should be arriving shortly, as I hope your employees will be. And with that, it doesn't even have, nobody even has to wait. The door opens, the two thin blood gentlemen come in, stand beside their respective employers, and shortly thereafter, the door opens again.
Tonight, the prince has dared to blush. He is looking every inch a sickly but living man as he enters into the room in one of his finer suits, doffs his hat, sits down at the table, and places his cane across his lap, smiling politely at the assembled. Good evening, all. And thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to see us, old friend. And he just smiles at Lord Bridgerton.
Of course, Your Grace.
It may be more expedient this evening if we don't hold ourselves and stand on ceremony.
Indeed.
As soon as the prince says that, Ashton kind of slumps a little in his chair.
Sharky does not. Sharky's in a boardroom, as far as he's concerned.
The Seneschal is just standing at the door. They have not come fully into the room. The Seneschal is 8 feet tall, not including the coral like growths that make up something almost akin to a headdress. One that covers their eyes and all of the upper face. And they just stand there in armor. Extraordinarily well armed. And I mean that both in the fact that they have 6 arms and are carrying 3 different weapons.
All right, then.
A polearm and axe, and a longsword.
Ashton does some mental math for a minute and then it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
You've met my seneschal, Laranier, yes?
I have not had the pleasure. And at this point, Ashton will stand up and nod to pay respect to the station of the seneschal, and he will look at his accountant and just kind of nod, like, do that.
Luther, if you would show your respect to our dearest lord. As he
He's gonna obey and just kind of like bow, a tad awkwardly because this is not someone who was raised by a Ventru. But there's also an 8-foot tall mushroom spider monster. So
these are our new employees who we found, and we have chosen to grant protection, our protection. If you would accept them, well, not as members of your court, but as denizens here of this city.
The prince will regard them coolly with hazel eyes, searching over each of their features. A clarifying question, if I may. Have either of you been marked by previous courts?
marked. What do you mean marked?
It is a rather barbaric practice in our sect, but one that is still in practice in these modern nights, that Duskborn are branded.
Smiley's got one of them.
I wish to put any fears at rest. As John looks over at between Bridgerton, Sharky, and Ashton, I have no intent of having any Duskborn in my city branded, nor do I have any intent of branding Caitiff. We are here to create something better, stronger. After all, we are all kindred here, and as such, should be treated with the same respect we would treat all of our cousins. Isn't that right, Lord Bridgerton?
It seems that the wife and your father-in-law have educated you well, Your Grace.
My time during the war has taught me much. One of those being that sometimes the old ways must be allowed to die, so that something new and stronger can take its place. Now, as a matter of formality, I do grant you both hospitality and what domain you may hold in my city. My only request is that if you are called upon by the court, that you do your level best to answer the call. Are we in agreement?
And both the Duskborn are gonna kind of nod. And Lord Bridgerton will look from the Seneschal to the Prince. Dr. Beck, had rather an emergency with one of his patients, I'm sure they would be more than willing to have audience with your grace to introduce their own employees.
The alchemist, yes, I have heard. In their line of work, things move rapidly and often without warning. I'm sure that they will be able to make time to come to see me, and therefore I will preemptively grant them hospitality in my city, just so that they don't inadvertently run afoul of our law enforcement.
I will let them know.
It's appreciated. Now, Mr. Knox, I would like to extend sincerest apologies on behalf of my court. It would seem your last mission with the Seneschal had gone awry because of some lapses in reporting. I'm glad to see you hail and as unharmed as one can be in these modern nights. And as a token of my apology, I offer you a minor boon.
The minor boon is accepted and recorded.
Wonderful. I took the liberty of informing Ms. Dillard before I arrived. One can never be too prepared.
Lovely. That saves me a message. As he was starting to bring out his phone, and then he puts it back in his pocket.
By all means, feel free to reach out. After all, there's no need to always take me at my word.
But a Ventru's word is his bond, is it not?
It is indeed. This is simply a gesture of good faith. After all, your family is one that has been mistreated historically. I aim to put those relations to right.
I believe that you are certainly capable. Whether or not my words will help change any opinions within my family, that is yet to be seen.
Then let our actions speak louder than our words. Yes?
Agreed.
Excellent. And he'll look back over to Lord Bridgerton. Is there anything else you required from us this evening?
Actually, it is less about what I require and more about something that our Mr. Vanguard was meaning to assist your harpy with.
Oh,
It's something about the debate sort of
Yes.
ideal that yourself and your wife were introduced at.
Yes. Okay.
could both of you give me a we'll call it a wits and insight real quick, just to see if you spot it.
Sorry, I had to find the bot.
No worries.
It's in exactly the same spot every time, but my brain always says it's supposed to be somewhere else.
Okay.
4.
Yeah. Uh, Ashton will spot it, and we'll wait and see what Sharky gets to see if Sharky spots it as well.
2.
Did you want to use a willpower?
I only got 4 of those. I need to save those for really important moments.
Fair, very fair, and wise. So Ashton, you're going to catch this. Sharky, unfortunately, you will not. What you will see is the prince smiling. Ashton, you will see a little bit deeper behind that smile. There is a kind of wistful nostalgia. Ah, so you're looking at putting together something of a tongue lashings.
Something of the sort, I suppose.
I think that is an excellent idea. So many in this city could benefit from sharpening their social graces.
Definitely so, I suppose. Seems the ones that I met the other night seem to have a good wit about them. But I understand not all of the families understand it as well as mine and those in attendance.
I do have a private event space in Center City that might be well suited for what you're looking for. You were both in attendance at the Pyramid Club when you were introduced. I think that would be a fantastic place to hold such an event.
We were going to hold it at my nightclub, but quite frankly, I think that might cause a bit of a disturbance because I sadly don't have a big enough private room for an event like that. So, as long as your harpy is in agreement, I'd be more than happy to have it there.
I think Dillard would be delighted. After all, it is technically a Ventru holding, so she shouldn't have too much of a problem with it. Speaking of individuals that you met, a little birdie tells me that one of my newest roses was in attendance at your club the other night.
I can't remember that blasted man's name to save my life, but he had a... He catches himself before he says that. And I can't remember his name.
John just rolls his eyes. Laurent.
Ah, yes, that's quite the striking gentleman, Your Grace. Might have been a little preoccupied.
Yes, he is quite the pretty one, isn't he?
Pretty is a word you could use to describe him, yes.
His eye darts over to Sharky for a moment. Yes, a recently released individual from a different side of the political fence. Before turning his attention back to Ashton.
He was there with the Primogen.
His cousin Wendy, yes. They are... I believe he said something about an iconic duo.
Ah, yes. She didn't seem too keen on playing with his tomfoolery the other night.
I do hope he did not offend.
Oh no, he quite encapsulated what my club is about very well.
If you find there are any issues with that particular rose, please feel free to contact me directly.
Of course, Your Grace. I'm more than happy to do that. However, I would say, based on the things that happened, you may want to go talk to your harpy if she
I
hasn't
have
already said anything to you.
I have already spoken to Miss Dillard and will be speaking with the other individuals involved after I am finished here.
Now, I have a question. There was also a woman by the name of Cyrene.
Ah, yes, Mix Leclerc. Lovely individual.
Okay. Seemed very out of place. I don't know if she was just coming for the fact she was invited or
She
what not.
was in part acting as one of my representatives.
Ah,
She was, after all, integral in the war and one of my most trusted individuals.
good to know. I probably will be speaking with her at some point on some research matters.
They are one of the preeminent minds of the city and a wealth of information. Should you know the right questions to ask?
Excellent. I'll definitely have to take them up on that. And probably use the library. It's quite a wonderful resource. I'm glad you all have one here.
Of course. That reminds me, Lord Bridgerton, as part of our exchange program, you do have free access to the Nielsen.
Oh, good. I can't wait to see what young Master Eberly has on our mutual acquaintance. Apparently the gem of his collection.
Yes, he preened about that for days. Spent a good deal of time with that particular individual, asking all sorts of questions. Should you speak to him, please extend my deepest thanks.
Indeed. Apparently there have been some interesting developments down south.
Surely nothing he can't handle.
I believe it had something to do with one of the new arrivals, Jack something.
Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. But since you all have me here, is there anything else that the city can do for you?
Ashton kind of sits back in the chair thinking. As of right now, Your Grace, it seems that everything I can do is already taken care of by just well placed conversations. But I thank you for your support.
As always, my prince, you have done much for me already in providing us a place to stay, and your continued support provides much for us continued. Thank you again.
Of course. After all, and he'll look around the room momentarily before settling on Sharky. We do have mutual interests.
Indeed, we do.
Now, if you all will excuse me, I do still have preparations make for tomorrow evening, I would politely ask that you avoid the port area tomorrow night. I'm having a private function, and it would be best if you were not swept up in the festivities.
Understood.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. And he'll rise from his seat, set his cane down, place his hat back on his head, offer a polite smile, before his eyes settle on Sharky. May the darkness keep you safe.
May Cain's darkness guide you.
And he will breeze out of the room.
And the seneschal is just going to make a whole bunch of clicky sounds. And follow the prince out. Very well done. All four of you.
You're getting a $2 raise.
Nick, you did wonderful without any preparations. I didn't know that was happening. He's kind of looking Nick up and down to see how he's doing. Fine.
I mean, this is a guy that is at home with spreadsheets and computers. Being social is not really something that Mr. Andros would say is comfortable.
Sorry about that. Next time I'll try to give you a little bit of a heads up.
So we're good, right?
Yes, you're absolutely fine for now, yeah.
And he said that we don't have to get marks like Smiley's got.
Correct.
Kate, can I go back to the office now? I've still got some invoices to go over from opening night.
Yes, you can.
Let me know if you need any help with that. I'd be more than willing to help mentor you.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Knox. If I ever need to do any cooking, I will absolutely give you a call.
All right, please do. I always have time for our employees as a what did the Camry call it? Coterie? Our coterie employees? That's a thing, right? That's what we call them.
I guess
Lord
it's a thing
Bridgerton.
now.
I would imagine so.
That's what we can call them then. I love that. I like that word. Coterie.
And it is good that we've dealt with that particular formality. Preparations for a hunt were mentioned, festivities. I have some information that says that the last individuals who committed specific crimes within the prince's domain have become part of those festivities.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
So, it is all well and good that we honored the tradition of domain.
Of course, Lord Bridgerton. It's pretty much a if I wouldn't want it done to me, why would I do it to someone else?
And now the Duskborn don't have to worry about anything untoward happening due to breach of etiquette.
Indeed.
I mean, I was just gonna lock good old Luther here up in the house if anything were to happen to him.
That is a terrible idea, and that's saying something coming from a snake.
I mean, I'm supposedly full of those. So,
Yes. However, this was very neatly handled. I don't suppose there has been much in the way of forward movement for those gangrel.
in terms of the whispers,
Yes.
not much yet.
I haven't had a chance to look, but finding out about that library, maybe I can make some headway in that direction.
Yes.
Not that's not exactly my area of expertise.
No, of course not.
I can try to aid you though, Mr. Vanguard, if you would like, in your research.
I was thinking about inviting that Cyrene person.
Then perhaps the three of us can make a night of it. I'm not exactly a scholar of the occult, but I know my way around. I can at least give
And
you some help.
the Prince's Childer could use differing opinions.
On the subject matter,
It would not go amiss to foster that connection.
well, I suppose, when I get a second, I'll go down there. That should keep me busy for a while, going to speak with him, and then going to set up the... I don't like calling it a tongue lashing, that sounds quite like it's something else. However, I would...
The Debate Society, whatever in fact it is named.
Yes. The names can always be work in progress. It's fine.
His Grace met his wife at one such event.
I noticed.
Apparently, she made a Toreador look quite foolish.
Good for him. However, I suppose with everything I have to get set up with doing, I probably should start planning an event.
So it seems. I imagine you will have as much help as you could hope for from the Harpy.
She was quite excited when I told her I would host it.
She does so love holding forth on the ways in which etiquette and courtesy can be armor.
Indeed. It's quite the interesting experience.
Let me know when you plan on having those, Mr. Vanguard. I might just join you.
I absolutely will. However, I
Getting
think considering what
better
I've
at
heard about a
social
couple of the
combat.
I suppose maybe if we do it like a tournament style. However, I really would like to see exactly where some of the neonates and fledglings are at first.
Getting better at social combat and not just physical combat.
Hmm. I am. Most of my job requires being fairly capable of speaking and talking, and I'm really good at my job. But learning how to more weaponize that against kindred, or I shouldn't say weaponize, more allowing to teach it more, learn it more, able to defend myself better, that might be useful. Does that make sense?
Yes, I believe it does.
I'd be more than happy to give you some lessons. Privately, of course, if you teach me how to throw a better right hook.
I can do that. I definitely can. So mainly you take your fist and you ball it up. I know that's new for you.
Monsieur Mallory is also a bit of a teacher, it seems, in his methodology of wielding steel. Should that be of interest?
They would be very useful for you, Mr. Vanguard. However, I keep weapons on me 24/7. Catch my
I
drift.
I don't think I want to. He caught it. He doesn't want it.
Young Mistress She is also proficient.
Or if you want to learn how to do the shooty shooty bang bang, uh, one of the fledglings who fought the dinosaur, uh, I think her name was Louise. Talk to her.
Seems like we have a capable lot in this city, which is quite a different situation. Than I am used to.
You're not used to kindred being capable?
I spent most of my time in Nebraska where we were having to move around a lot.
How'd you
So to get a
survive in
weird.
Nebraska?
Let's say I have a soft spot for a certain family.
Oh no. Oh, honey. Oh, honey, you were a cleaver.
No. Wrong kind of family, you. It's a good thing you're pretty.
To be fair, that's what you made it sound like.
I'm talking about I have a soft spot for Ravnos, given my background. Sharky.
Oh, that's so much worse.
Yeah, well, I'm also a former follower of Set, so like, all of that
Oh,
kind of gets thrown out the window, Sharky, doesn't it? Just a little bit.
I, Mr. Vanguard, I do like you. I do. I really do. I thought you were a reformed follower of Set.
That's what the word. That's what the word former means.
Oh,
Not
I didn't.
reformed. Former.
Oh, I didn't hear former. Fair enough. Well, you're all better now.
You certainly have a way with words, don't you?
I my way with words is I'm really good at pissing people off, but I'm usually right.
You see Ashton taking a very unnecessary breath and counting under his breath as he exhales.
That doesn't do anything for us anymore.
Sharky, I'd wish you would just be quiet.
Is that possible?
I don't think it is, actually.
Is he counting on his finger?
Yes, I mean, as long as it keeps him entertained and not talking to me, I think it'll be alright.
There, I was quiet for a whole 20 seconds. Really 21. So there, I can be quiet.
I wish I could have Dr. Beck just take your mouth off, and that would fix a lot of our problems. He smirks at Sharky.
There have been problems.
Well, in the past, we fixed those problems, and so did Sharky, but probably wouldn't have happened if he couldn't open his mouth. Looking at Sharky.
I think he's talking about our first day.
First day meeting the prince, the thing with the old Toreador the previous Toreador Primogen, like that whole debacle.
Anyway, um,
I think that is all that we truly needed to get accomplished this evening. Unless there was something else.
Not at all.
Mr. Knox?
am I back? My internet cut out for a second.
Yes, you're back.
Okay. Well, Mr. Vanguard. All this reminds me, actually. We don't know of any other Zemitzi in the city, right? Because that Fleshosaurus is the only thing that comes to mind. That thing could only be made by two groups of people. A Zemitzi, or I don't know, it seems like something a Toreador would find a way to do, but I don't know of any Toreador who can do stuff like that, so that falls back to a Zemitzi. Do we know of any Zemitzi in the area so that way I can pay them a little visit?
Other than the doctor.
Well, of course it's not the doctor. The doctor has a working brain.
There is a young neonate dragon, though I doubt he would have quite the juice to create a dinosaur made of mouths.
Well, that's 2 people down. There's the seneschal, but I doubt the seneschal would do that. Unless... No, there's no reason to.
Presumably, the seneschal is a Tzimitzi. They are certainly a flesh crafter.
They can remove someone's face and put it on a dinosaur. That doesn't mean they did, and I don't think they would, because, again, they have a functioning brain. But whoever did it needs to be taught a few lessons. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of digging.
There is a fairly nearby baron of that family.
Oh, do tell. There's a fairly nearby baron of the Anarchs, you say?
2 of them, though only one of them is a Tzimis.
I am very intrigued. What would their name be?
Merrick, a mononym.
They only have one name. That is lovely. Thank you for letting me know. I'll write that down. I'll get that to... He hands it over to he hands it over to Luther. Take that, keep that in mind. If you see anyone who goes by the name Merrick, just Merrick, keep an eye out for him.
The other is a Ms. Kim.
And she is...
Dancer.
He is...
A dancer.
An Anarch
Yes, a baron.
dancer.
Bruja, I believe.
Are you sure?
Reasonably.
Okay.
I don't think you should go stirring up the barony, Sharky. It's ill-advisable at best.
Well, bless
Downright
your
stupid at the
heart.
most. Don't you bless my heart, you half-baked porpoise.
If you're gonna make dolphin puns,
It wasn't a pun, it was just me stating a fact.
if you're gonna be stating facts, at least make them accurate. Anyway, no, I'm not gonna go stirring up the barony. I'm just gonna keep some tabs. If I find out that this Merrick is making flesh dinosaurs, I think that constitutes a bit of a problem for the city, don't you think? Considering... Then there we go. It constitutes an issue for the city. I'm not planning on actively escalating anything, just keeping tabs. That's all I'm doing. Gosh, you think I can't do anything but make things worse.
There is an established non-aggression order between the Bruja barony and the city.
Also, aren't there some roses that have that particular ability? Certain bloodline?
Yes.
That would have been my first thought considering the previous pecking order in the city. So the likelihood of them still being around is about non-existent, potentially.
His Grace's impatience for that particular clan is fairly well known. Apparently, it pre-exists his time within a Toreador city, one of the nearby, a couple of hours north, domains is also run by a Toreador, and apparently there has always been a bit of a rivalry.
That sounds about right. Interesting.
Cesspools. Very interesting.
Indeed.
Any city I've ever been to run by a Toreador is always a cesspool, pretty on the outside, scary on the inside.
That describes the Lehigh Valley better than I think you realize.
Well, perhaps they might have went there after things popped off over here. Did I really just say popped off? Been hanging around too many of the youths.
That is not necessarily a bad thing. It's better for fitting in.
Oh, of course. However, that is something with that. If there are other threats of weird fleshy monsters that shouldn't be a thing, that would be the first place I would look, not actually looking at a baron.
Well, the barony is right next door, and we don't have a non-aggression pact with that barony. So, until further notice, I'm not going to lead to any escalation. However, if I
Didn't Lord
ever
Bridgerton just say there was a non-aggression pact
with
With
the
the
Bruja,
Bruja Barony.
with the Bruja? Okay.
so if I see any Zamitzi known as Merrick or any Zamitzi related to this Merrick step into anywhere that I deem my turf, Exnay on the breathe.
Well, that's effectively we don't breathe anyway. Um, I think I might know something else that I can help with if the prince will allow it.
Oh, yes.
Well, it seems if we only have a non-aggression pact with one barony, we might as well try to get the other.
I might suggest speaking to the prince beforehand.
Oh, of course. That would definitely be doable. I had no clue that that was an issue. I would have asked him while he was here.
A note will very likely suffice.
He writes a note, just kind of to give it to you. Or is there a place I need to put it for the seneschal? I don't know.
Well, you could call the rats, but
He'd call the rats.
these are literal rats that just kind of walk up and take the note and scurry away while two of the rats stand on their hind paws and look up at Ashton expectantly
Oh
and
no.
close their little hands.
Ashton kind of reaches in his pocket. He finds like little cracker pack he probably kept to feed the person he fed off at the nightclub. Hands it to them. Hands him a cracker. Each one.
Yep, and the rats will take the crackers and scurry off with squeaks that sound suspiciously like teep, 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 pickage.
Don't they function off of wasabi peas as a currency?
Well, they are rats, so any food.
I have heard that if you don't give them wasabi peas, they may sometimes deliver your package to the wrong person. So, I hope that gets to the prince eventually, Mr. Vanguard.
I'll send another one now that I know I need to give them wasabi peas. Even the rats are temperamental.
It's Philadelphia.
Teep.
Well,
Teep.
well, if there's not anything that you need me for, suppose I'm going to scurry off and start planning. Wait to hear back from the prince on exactly what what I can do in regards to that.
Very well. If there is nothing else, I do believe we can call this meeting to a close.
That would be all that I have.
Your efforts have been noticed, and not just by me.
Say that again?
Your efforts have been noticed, and not just by me.
Excellent.
Mr. Vanguard, Mr. Knox, enjoy the rest of your evening.
You as well.
Enjoy yours as well, Mr. Lord Bridgerton. I thank you for your time this night.
Indeed. And Bridgerton's gonna stand up with all of his trigger warning insects, with various parts of his suit seeming to crawl, as well as the faint pattering of several carapaces hitting the floor. And with that, unless the two players have anything, we will call this session of Philly by Night to a close. Which means it's time for our traditional introductions. We'll start with Mr. Vanguard. Who are ya and where can we find ya?
Hey, I'm John. You can find me on TikTok at that nerd guy. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Sharky, who are you when you are not a southern rich guy?
So when I'm not southern, rich, and mostly depressed, I am just Chandler Fields, also known as Kingdom 0905 on TikTok, a southern, poor, and mostly depressed person.
My partner in crime and in the weird stuff we do on this Discord server and in this game. Who are ya and where can we find ya?
I am Einar. You can find me at Einar_TTRPG on any social media platform I want you to find me on. That is what I am. And I portray the occasionally hangry and always moody Prince Sexton among several other SPCs in and around the city.
And I am Good Day. And my handle for finding me anywhere you want to find me is Good Day FX. I'm having lots of fun on TikTok lately with all sorts of makeups. We also have a game TikTok and a game YouTubes should you miss a session and want to catch up. And tonight I was the storyteller and Lord Davis Bridgerton Esquire. I also portray a myriad of other SPCs. So, everybody take care of yourselves. And remember, just because we play monsters on TV does not mean we can't be the light in somebody's world. Good night. Sleep tight. Some about bed bugs.